Yes, I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer. Oh, I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them. Tell them no retreat, no surrender. I shall fight till the end of years. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn all Satan carrier. Father loose all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David turn some to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contract, rip it up. And if your bad mind people to go meet it up, pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it up. So no weapon that form against us shall not prevail. And no man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Because I will conquer, oh I will conquer. Yes, I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer. Oh, I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them. Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. You're everything, Father. Thank you. Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to feel. And remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of lies. Send down your warriors with the hello. They carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil try trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this time is coming. I can see the high tide raise. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we decide? No weapon that form against us shall not prevail. No man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Because I will conquer, oh I will conquer. Yes, I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer. Oh, I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them. I am a man. I am a champion. I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the various radio stations, 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, and 91.9 and 91.5 RealFM Radio, 92.9 Sister Radio broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the various radio stations, whether it's, the various social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're joining us from. A very special good morning to you. It is Thursday morning. I don't know if to say it's a beautiful morning because it's raining. Some people love when it's raining. I love when it's raining, but I love to be home when it's raining. So it's Thursday. For most of you, it's beautiful. For people like me who would rather be home, it's sort of a cold, rainy, kind of glum kind of day for me. And for those of you joining us on social media, and as I said yesterday, in studio with me this morning, I have the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Francis Martin. Good morning, Dr. Martin.
Hi, good morning. Morning to you and the listening public out there.
All right, and how are you this morning?
I am well. I happen to be one of those guys that love rain, so I'm really happy today.
All right. Well, that's good. That's good. I like the rain, but I like to be home when it's raining.
No, it doesn't matter for me, wherever I am.
All right. Well, I'm very happy to have this sit down with you this morning because, of course, we know we are in a period where there is a lot of vaccination happening and a lot of talk about vaccination happening. And people are skeptical. People are in two minds. There is a lot of information circulating, whether that information is a factual information or it's information that, somebody dreamt up somewhere and decided that they were going to post it, and some of it is just plain opinion, people's opinion on how they feel about vaccination. But of course, we're hoping that we can clear the air on a lot of these things this morning, that we can have more conversations surrounding vaccination, and of course, clear up some of those conspiracy theories that we have out there. But first and foremost, I want to start by speaking about where we are as a country as it relates to coronavirus. How are things going for us?
Things are going well for us. From the beginning of the COVID response, we knew all the time, and we were very consistent with our messages, that if you follow the rules, and as physicians and scientists, if we follow the science, that things are going to be okay. We were very consistent with it from the beginning, telling people what are the modes of transfer or infections, how to protect themselves, the severity of the disease, the need for quarantine, the need for social distancing or physical distancing. And I'm happy to say that by and large, the country believed in what we were saying all along. They've taken heed, and because of that, we are in a very stable epidemiological situation at this point. So I am really confident that we are going to weather this storm, and we're going to go through and get through. But people always have to remember the rules and remember what we've indicated before, and keep to those. So this is where we are at this point. I mean, we're seeing a couple of infections again. Is not something that we doesn't expect. We expect it to happen. That has been the modus operandi for the last year or so, and so we just got to keep steady.
All right. And of course, we've discussed as a people why we shouldn't get concerned when we have certain types of cases, or how cases present themselves, basically, because we are expectant that there will be cases that will be imported, because coronavirus still exists by large around the world. Yeah. And of course, we have to just make sure we take the necessary precautions here as a people to prevent ourselves from getting infected.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so far we've been able to avoid community transmission because of the rules, but we do still expect, and is prepared for, the imported case that we expect.
All right. Now, I want us to start or begin our conversation surrounding vaccinations. There's so much that people want to know, so many questions that need to ask. And guys, we are going to open the lines for you. So write your questions down. Just keep them close. So when that time comes, you are able to ask whatever question or concern, query you may have surrounding this vaccination process. You can write it down for us. So we've learned of the different vaccines. We as a country are currently using the AstraZeneca vaccine. Why was that specific vaccine choice made, and how many more vaccines are available? We've recently heard of Johnson's & Johnson's, and it seems like that one is able to weather the our conditions here in terms of storage. Is that something that we are, I know it's a loaded question, is that something that we're going to be looking at in the upcoming future?
Well, certainly. But, just as a way of background, vaccines have been with human population for decades now. And every time the story on vaccine comes up, we go through the same issue, the same problem. There are always going to be skepticisms about vaccines. But what I can say is, as a single medical modality, vaccine has been responsible for saving the lives of the most people that we know around the world since the beginning of vaccinations. So vaccinations have been around, and they've done their jobs. And to a large extent, we have no issues with vaccines. I mean, we have vaccinated our children. We ourselves got vaccinated. Someone gets a nail joke, and the next word that comes from their mouth, I want a tetanus vaccine, right? So vaccine has done that trip for us. But the world have had difficult times in vaccinations before. The yellow fever was a difficult time for the rest of the world. But now everyone needs to get a yellow fever vaccine if you're going to be traveling to an endemic area. Smallpox, polio, these things have been around for a while, And what we're going through right now with the corona vaccine is this exact same thing that happened with the polio vaccine and chickenpox vaccine and so on, where people didn't want it and so on. However, the reason why I think as a region we felt comfortable with the AstraZeneca version of the vaccine is because the technology that has been used for the AstraZeneca vaccine is old technology. It is vaccination technology that's been around for ages. We have used those vaccines in the past, and we're going to continue to use those vaccines in the future. The only thing that is new about the vaccine is the virus itself. That's the only new thing. It's a new virus, but it's old technology. You know, we have other vaccines that are around, the flu vaccine, which, you know, people take every year, the herpes vaccine, you know, even the Neisseria gonorrhea for meningitis vaccine that people take when they go to college. I mean, the technology is old, and I think this is the reason why, as public health professionals in the Caribbean, we felt confident that we can roll this out in the Caribbean region, and we don't expect any untowards reactions. We don't expect any serious SARS or symptoms related to acute allergic reactions to it, because that's the type of vaccines that we have exposed ourselves to for many, many years. As I said, the only difference is that it's a new virus.
It's a new virus. So we are comfortable with just the AstraZeneca. What about the Johnson & Johnson's? There are lots of people saying, oh, well, Johnson & Johnson's is now available. It's only one shot. So we're going to wait until that one comes before we take our vaccination. What would be your response?
One shot because they free the injection?
Yes. I didn't feel the needle.
Right. Okay.
I didn't feel it. I had friends who took it as well and didn't feel the injection.
Right.
I would hope that that's probably the reason behind them wanting to take one shot.
Well, okay. well, either way, we're going to do what we have always done. We're going to first look at the vaccine, look at how it was made. We are going to discuss it with our regional partners, because Grenada does not do anything on its own, and we have not done anything on our own since the beginning of COVID. We've always discussed with our regional health institutions and public health institutions like PAHO and CAFA, look and see what the technology is, and more importantly, we're going to look to see what the studies are saying.
Right.
About the side effect profile, about the coverage, the effectiveness and efficacy of the one dose versus two dose of other vaccines.
Right.
Those are all the determinations that's going to be made before a decision is made. What is important to know is that all is on the table.
All is on the table.
On the table, and whichever happens, given the circumstances, we're going to go as we see fit.
Okay. Now, and as time goes by and as more study is being done, it's being said that the length of time we take between the first and the second dose, the length of time between each dose increases the efficacy of the vaccine. With that being the case, I think the last publication I saw on that was 12 weeks. Are we going based on that?
Our decision here is between 8 and 12 weeks.
8 and 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. I want to speak a little bit about the COVAX facility so people understand more about what is happening, because a lot of individuals are saying, oh, well, the vaccines are coming from Barbados. Why were we not able to get our own, and so on? And I don't think people really understand what the COVAX facility does for us here as a region.
Right. The COVAX facility was set up very early in the game because of a problem that they knew exists in the world. Mm-hmm. And that problem is, whenever there is a crisis, richer countries, I don't know how to say that.
They tend to buy for their population. They have more access, basically.
And as we have seen with COVID, they can stop the export of certain things to your countries.
Oh.
This was a very unfortunate experience we've had during the early COVID situations. I personally, as Chief Medical Officer, had to deal with the issue when England decided to stop the export of essential drugs to our countries because of the COVID. We've seen how the U.S. have also stopped, export of ventilators and so on. Mm-hmm. So COVID facility and Gavi knew that the world behaves this way. Mm-hmm. So they set up this facility early enough so that when the vaccine becomes available, through them, they will be able to get vaccines to the poor and the middle income countries. And that's simply what it is. The system was set up, vaccine was paid for. So when people say it's free, it's really not free. It was paid for, maybe not out of our tax dollars, but it was paid for. And so that facility now is in the process of ensuring that countries get their vaccines. We have done our vaccine rollout plan. We have done sign up all the necessary documents that we need to sign to ensure that we have our facilities. And they have started to deliver. And I expect our tranche to be delivered at any time. But of course, as you know, because of COVID, transportation around the world and so now we have so much vaccine, but now we have to work with the logistics of how to get it there.
How to get it.
Yeah, because airlines, shipping, all of those things need to take into consideration. But I'm assured that things are working out pretty nice for us.
Okay. Now we recently got 17,000 new doses. I want to say doses. Doses are not vials, right?
Correct.
Because I know there's 10 doses in a vial. Okay. So we got 17,000 doses of the vaccine. We recently, prior to that, received 6,000 doses of the vaccine, of which I believe we've vaccinated. The last number I saw was 4,650 vaccinations were done, and that was as of Monday or so.
Right.
Which means, of course, by now we've done more than that.
Yes. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know we've gone excess of 5,000.
Okay, but wow. So that means that more and more people as the day go by, and as people look at, I guess, others who have taken the vaccination and realizing that nobody turned into anything weird, or nobody had any severe allergic reaction to it. Maybe it's safe for us to go ahead and take it. But do we foresee there being a more island-wide rollout of the vaccination process? Right now we know Radisson is complete and they're doing Grenville at the Deluxe Cinema. When would we see a more island-wide rollout where persons can go to the healthcare facility in their village, community, constituency and be vaccinated if they need to be?
Our national rollout plan has certain aspects of it that is more in the public eye and other aspects that is not necessarily in the public eye. It's important for the public to understand that this thing is safe. So, we did a Radisson's with having a Deluxe. But as we speak, anyone can go to any of the health centers on the island and duly vaccinated.
Okay. So I could walk into my healthcare facility in Happy Hill and say, I want to be vaccinated.
For now, it's safer to go to the St. George's Health Center.
The St. George's Health
I didn't say medical stations. I said health centers.
Health centers. Oh, right. Okay. Understood. Understood. Now, I want us to be very clear, because once you open a vial, it means that you have to vaccinate 10 people.
Right.
Is it a situation where the health centers are asking people to call in and make appointments so that they can have a cluster, or is it that you can just walk in and ask for it?
I think both can work. Calling and making an appointment is good. I'm hoping that the lines are of the nature where 10 people would be getting the vaccine, so that we won't lose any. But our well-trained nurses can do a couple things as well. If one person shows up, I believe that nurse will take that individual's contact.
Right.
And say, okay, I'll call you once I get another 9. Or, I mean, if that nurse, he or she is like me, I would say, well, okay, go get 9 of your partners and come.
And come.
It's all sorts of things you have to do to
Right.
make sure that, you get maximum use for the dose, because you really don't want to spoil any of it.
Absolutely. I definitely do agree with that. Now, of the 17,000 that we have just received, I know the last time we spoke to Keville, he said we were expected to receive somewhere in the ballpark of 46 or so thousand vaccinations. That 17, is it a part of that 46,000, or is it a set aside from that?
That's set aside from that.
It's set aside.
Yes,
So we still have
that.
46 to receive. Wow. That's really good news. That is really good news. So it means that very soon we would or hope to see more people wanting to get vaccinated. Now, there is a school of thought that we're aiming for 60% of the population to be vaccinated because that is considered herd immunity. Once that is done, and I'm hoping that you are able to answer this question, would you say as a healthcare professional, once that is done here and maybe in other parts of the region, because I think Barbados is somewhere around 40,000 vaccinations completed so far. So if we have reached our goal of 60% as a region, do you see us looking at reopening to some extent on a larger scale than we are now?
All right. First of all, if I have my way, I would want 70%. So we're somewhere in between there, 70%. As a region, what I believe is going to happen is we are going to look at the first worlds and see what is happening there. We're going to look at their vaccine coverage, how well they've covered their populations. But more importantly, we're going to look to see what the new strains are doing, because we know what COVID is potentially capable of doing. And I think once the coverage are good enough and the new strains are also pretty good, I believe that the region will look into the idea of reopening, because it's necessary for economies and so on to continue. But I'm very hopeful that is going to play out pretty good.
Okay. Now, it is said that you cannot get infected with the same strain of a virus twice.
Okay.
But you can get infected with a different strain of the same virus.
Correct.
Again. So is it of concern that the efficacy of this AstraZeneca virus compared to the other strains of the virus, is it sufficient enough? Do we have to be concerned about that? Are we looking at us having to get an additional shot in the event that there is an outbreak of the new strain of the virus on the island?
That is a very, very important question you've just asked. And in fact, the world is asking that same question. So scientists is currently studying that sort of thing. The fact that you get the common cold once a year is testament to the fact that COVID is behaving as we expect it to behave. Right. That means new strains and so on is going to come out. The study is still continuing. Some of the studies indicate that there is good coverage, and others say we may or may not. So I really don't. We are not able to make a decision on it yet. All right. Left up to me, using my medical knowledge and epidemiological knowledge of how these things behave, I will not be surprised if the COVID vaccine becomes one like the influenza vaccine, or the one that we call the flu shot.
Right.
Every year people go out and get a flu shot. I will not be surprised if something like that happens with COVID because of how I see it's behaving. So we still have to wait and see what the study shows.
Okay. And of course, children, which is one of our, my biggest concern, and persons with underlying conditions, people who are immunocompromised, people who are doing things like chemotherapy and all of these things. Right. We know that once they start chemotherapy and these things, that their immune system is suppressed, meaning that it's not as reactive as it should be. So persons with these conditions advised to take the vaccine? Do they have to stop their treatment for a period of time so that their body's immune system can build enough so they can do it? What really is the line that we're taking for these individuals?
That's excellent question again. Everything is based on scientific studies. Apart from what you just be hearing on social media, which is anyhow, that's another thing. The research that was done, not enough data is collected in children. So for that reason, we are not advising vaccinating children. As far as people with underlying conditions is concerned and immunosuppression, the technology that is used for this vaccine makes it easy and makes it safe for even those type of persons, because with this vaccine, they are not using the COVID virus for this vaccine.
Okay.
So there's nothing in the COVID that's there.
Okay.
The vaccine simply tricks your body into thinking that the protein spikes on the COVID is in your body.
Okay.
Because that protein spikes are what is used to latch itself to your cells. If you want to put it that way, the protein spikes on the outside of that virus is like hands and tentacles. That spike goes out and holds onto your cells and grab onto it, and that's how it attaches itself to your cells. So the vaccine tells your immune system or tricks your immune system into thinking that the protein spikes are here. So your cells, in response to that, starts creating antibodies to absorb and kill those protein spikes, so that in the event that the COVID vaccine gets into you, you can immediately go out and kill that virus. And that's how the vaccine works.
That is okay. That is interesting because, we learn in school that when a vaccination is created, it's basically a watered-down version of the virus that is given.
It's like live attenuated, and because it's actually the virus itself, and they just attenuate it or kills it to a certain extent and so on. And there are some technologies, some vaccines that are that kind of technology as well. But fortunately for us, that's not the case.
COVID. Okay. That makes me feel so much better. It does. It makes me feel so much better. Now, with that happening, where we would find persons who now have this immunity or this autoimmune response to the virus, is it now a case where, and I did hear, or I think I heard, that it was mentioned that the study is still being done, but for the sake of the question, I'm going to ask it. Is it a situation where we now can say that an individual who will still get infected by the COVID virus, because of course we can't stop, the vaccination of a person does not stop COVID from being in the atmosphere, so they can still contract the virus. But in terms of how far the virus reaches in their system,
right,
to make them sick,
right,
have we identified how fast these antibodies will now react in order to kill the virus?
I can see that you've been studying the research. This is an excellent question, and again, it is a question that the scientists are still asking themselves right now, and they are studying it right now. Because getting the vaccine doesn't mean the virus is not going to lodge itself in your nostrils. What we now have to determine is whether your body will kill it fast enough so that it does not, you do not transmit it to somebody else. And once that data comes out, then it's going to determine whether we wear masks or not.
So how far away do you think we are from that place? Because I'm very ready to stop wearing masks.
Oh my goodness, I wish I could tell you it's next week or next month.
I think I'm very ready to stop wearing masks.
Yeah, I know, but the research is ongoing, is going really quickly. I myself would like to get the answers quite. There are some early indications that one, your body gets rid of the virus faster. What we now need to look at, what kind of concentration of the virus stays in you, because that's also going to determine the quarantine period that you have to stay in the event that you travel. So a lot of decisions are hanging in the balance, waiting for that data to come out that shows how much your body retain, how quickly your body get rid of the virus, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Now, I read that they've begun in the UK studies on children, trying to identify how safe the vaccine would be for them, how effective it would be. Do you know how far in the research they have been, or if they're in a stage where they are ready to say, okay, let's try it?
I don't think they're there yet, because there are other little authorizations and studies and peer review that must be done. But that one, I see that one coming up much quicker than some of the other studies that we're looking for. I want to mention something about safety, and I'm going to say this only because I have been asked this question so many times in other forum, and that is the speed at which the vaccine was created, and whether it's safe. Now, as I said to some people, when computers just came out, one computer filled a whole room. Today, your phone is stronger than the computer chip in your phone is stronger than some of the more modern laptops and so on. Getting the genetic sequencing of a human being took ages, but now we have the technology. In short space of time, we can get the genetic sequencing of a human being. It is the same with vaccine production. our technology has moved ahead so quickly that now we're able to get the genetic sequencing of viruses so easily. Look at how quickly we got the COVID genetic sequencing. And when the genetic sequence was discovered with COVID, it didn't stay in one country. China exported it to all other countries, saying, here is the genetic sequence, see what you can do, let's all race to get a vaccine.
Right.
That's the first thing.
Right.
Secondly, as it remains to safety, there is 4 phases of a trial that has to go for safety. All 4 was done. The difference is, in the past, phases of trials used to be done one after the other, because they need to have a lot of restrictions and authorizations before you go from one to the next. This time around, because of the pandemic, the decision was taken, let's not wait until one finish before we start phase 2. Let's do phase 1 and phase 2 together, for example. Or let's do phase 3 and phase 4 together, for example, because we were on a race against time. So it's both technology and also those restrictions and authorizations were given early enough so that the phases of studies can be undergone as quickly as we can. And that is why we are very confident in the safety protocol and the safety profile of these viruses, because it has gone through all the stages of trial that needs to be done.
Okay, and that is good to know. I have a question on the live video. But before I ask a question, let me just ask this one that's, as you were speaking, it's going in my head. So these restrictions, of course, getting phase 1 approved before we get to phase 2, they don't run in unison. So meaning that not doing phase 1 first and then doing phase 2 is not going to affect the outcome of phase 2.
No, it shouldn't.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Because what they do, they test different outcomes. Mm-hmm. It's different outcomes. One has to do with how, one of the studies has to do with how efficacious or how effective the vaccine is. The other one has to do with, let's look and see what the side effects are. You know, let's look and see. The other one might say, let's look to see how long the immunity takes to build. That kind of difference. So it's different questions they ask, and so the outcome that they're looking for is different. So one shouldn't affect the other.
Okay. So the question reads, good morning. In my humble opinion, the debate should not be whether or not someone should take the vaccine, as it depends on people. There are people who feel strongly against taking vaccines and modern medicines in general, and we cannot convince these people to take the vaccine. What I would like to see or hear is someone explaining this is the ingredients of the vaccine. This is what this does. There are side effects and so on. Then someone can decide this vaccine will not cause any side effects, or this vaccine is not for me because I am taking this medication, and so on. On the flip side, it is never a good idea for someone to follow suit. Someone has to stand back. That is, we need people to be vaccinated and people not to be vaccinated. If in the future the vaccine has adverse effects on humanity, then at least some people were not vaccinated. And if people that are not vaccinated catch severe illness, then hard luck. Apparently, they should have been vaccinated.
Yeah, he's the writer of the note is correct. I wouldn't argue with that. I mean, people do have options. I am a Western trained doctor, but I firmly believe that Western medicine is not the only cure there is to disease and ailment. Mm-hmm. As a physician, I am open to looking at other aspects of healing. And so I have the same position with the vaccination. I do expect some people are going to say nay, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's fine.
All right. So in his question, he made mention of the ingredients in the vaccine. Right. I don't think that is something that is widely discussed or discussed enough. So people have a clearer idea of, okay, well, there's this ingredient, so I think I'm allergic to this, I'm not going to take it. Mm-hmm. Or I know we advise people to speak with their physicians, speak with their medical practitioners first before taking the vaccine. Yeah. But for the sake of the people who don't have that kind of access.
Right. And I think that's where the crux of the matter is. You speak with your healthcare provider, because there are some ingredients in some vaccines that doesn't work well. What comes to my mind right now is serum sickness. There's some vaccine where they use horse serum to make the vaccine. So those persons have to be careful, and the physicians will know that you cannot take that vaccine because you have serum sickness. There's some vaccine that uses eggs or uses the white in eggs. And some people are actually allergic to that as well. And so has to be a conversation between yourself and your physician.
Okay.
But by and large, because of the studies that were done, issues of that is very central to the studies of these vaccines. And so when they come out, while there would be a handful of people that may still be allergic to the ingredients, by and large, the majority of the population wouldn't be allergic.
Would not be allergic. Okay. And for the general side effects, I think most people are aware of what the side effects are, because those who have already taken the vaccine have been very vocal, myself included, about the side effects that we have experienced. I have not heard so far of anyone having very severe side effects. Some of us low-grade fever, low-grade body ache, fatigue and these things, but I've never heard, not that it doesn't exist on the island, but I have not heard of anyone who has had any severe side effect or allergic reaction to the vaccine.
Similar here. I have not heard of anyone. In fact, most of the people that I've spoken to only had very, very mild illness at all. They actually was able to get back to work. But I want to say this, we have a mechanism in place that deals with symptoms associated with immunization, that's called SAVIs. And there's a mechanism where all countries are linked to be able to discuss this matter. So if anyone thinks that they have had serious reactions, it's important that they let us know so that we can plug this into our system and have it dealt with, because you never know, they might just be the one or two persons that may just have an allergic reaction.
Okay. This individual is asking, I live in Bolio. Can I go to the medical station there or for my vaccine, or do I have to go to the health center in St. George?
You can call the Bolio medical station to see if it's there. The idea is to have it at all the stations, but recall there is limitations in storage and other type of matters that our public health nurses will take into consideration first before they decide which medical stations they're going to put it into. So she can make a quick call to the Bolio medical station or the St. George's Health Center to determine. I know for sure St. George's Health Center. You can go there now. I know that for sure. But for Bolio, we have to know, because we have to make sure that they have a refrigerator there that is at the right temperature, that is functioning well, and that current won't go. That kind of thing.
We can't afford for any loss when it comes to vaccination. I want to speak a little bit about breastfeeding mothers, because this is a big concern for a few of the breastfeeding mothers. Whether they take the vaccine, would the antibodies immediately pass on to their children? Would the children experience the same side effects? Should they be concerned in taking vaccination while breastfeeding?
Like with children, in the study phases of the vaccine, it has not been a practice to involve pregnant and lactating mothers in studies. So there isn't enough data, not as far as I know, there isn't enough data to make a statement on the safety in pregnant and lactating mothers. But physiologically, we do know that mothers can pass on antibodies through breast milk to their babies. And so if that mother is immune, there's a great chance that the baby might be immune as well. So we're still waiting on that research again to see what's going on. I must say, however, again, because of the technology that was used for this particular virus, on paper, it should be safe because of what was done. But we don't want to say clearly. So I think most of the scientists would say you and your physician would weigh the benefit against the risk and make an informed decision based on what you think is going on at the moment.
Okay. And if there was something to ever happen or a side effect to occur, would that occur within the same time frame of the baby nursing, or would it be something that would be later down the road?
I'll answer this by saying this vaccine do not interfere with the DNA of any of us.
Okay.
And I hope that people understand what I mean by that. There is no chance of this vaccine causing your DNA to start coding for some kind of strange, organs or strange things happening down the road. I mean, life is like this, and I don't believe I know the future, so I cannot say that it's going to be 100% safe in the future because I'm not God and I don't know everything. But it doesn't interfere with your DNA. It's as far as we're concerned on the safety profile, it is good. So I do not think that baby or that mother is going to suffer any serious untoward effect. And if the side effects are going to happen, generally it happens within 24 to 48 hours, and after that you should be okay to feel good.
Okay, because I know a few lactating mothers that took the vaccine,
Right.
and breastfed after, and their babies were fine.
Of course, like I said, this is why we chose that technology,
Okay.
because we have had experience with it.
Okay, I feel very good about knowing that very important point, because I can explain very well how vaccines work, how they are created in terms of using pieces of the vaccine or the virus to infect basically an individual so that they would have an immune response, autoimmune response to it. But I did not know that there were ways to create a vaccine not using the virus itself. You know, and I feel very good, and I'm sure that there are others listening out there who feel the same, knowing that they did not infect us with the COVID-19 virus.
Right.
So we could have an autoimmune response to it. So that feels really good. Now, the age limit for children taking the vaccine would be, I think I last heard 16.
I think it's 18.
18.
Yeah, 18.
So we are not vaccinating 16-year-olds.
16-year-olds, no.
Okay.
I mean, we got to look and see, you know, what our region is saying. But from the last I heard, it's 18.
It's 18. There was a comment on Facebook yesterday, I want to believe, somebody sent it to me, regarding an individual who was making a claim, and we're just straying a little bit from vaccination, but I think it's important, as I remembered it, to ask, that was claiming that in order for her to give birth, she had to pay 150 US to do a test. I want to believe she's speaking about the coronavirus test. So I just want to clarify, are we asking persons to take the test at the hospital before giving birth or anything like that?
I wouldn't want to speak in detail about the protocol at the hospital, but what I do know is that generally when situations like this occur, whether it's a pandemic or there is a new virus on the market, it is normal within the medical fraternity to test for that virus before you do anything. So if you do any major surgery, you should get tested for it. If you do any sort of invasive procedures, and I'm assuming here that invasive procedure will also mean issues of childbirth, especially depending on what the childbirth is. So I will not be surprised at all if they're asked to do a COVID test before they do any of those procedures. And the test that they may ask to do, it can be one out of any. It may be the antibody test, or the antigen test, or the actual PCR test, and that determination will be made by the team who's taking care of that person. So I would not be surprised at all if they were asked to do that.
If they were asked to do it. But it's not on a wide scale, like everybody going to have a baby is going to have to test for COVID.
Well, I don't know. I hope that everybody will get a test because the more you test is the more you know and the better you can treat and so on. So I would hope that everybody would have to get a test for it. What I'm not so sure is whether the payment issues, I think they're working that out, but I would hope that everybody gets a test.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that I could get some more information on that. Guys, we are going to open the lines at this point. So individuals with a question, I hope you've been writing your questions down, your concerns down, can go ahead and give us a call and let us know what those queries and questions are. The number to call is 440-7377 if you're calling locally. If you are in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. We're also taking calls and messages via WhatsApp at 440-7377, and you can post your question on the live video. Someone is saying, I want to encourage everyone to take their vaccine. I already took my first dose. So did I. It was not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, so did I.
We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Sister Duncan.
Good morning, Miss Jacob. How are you?
I'm all right, Sister Duncan.
All right.
Good morning to my beautiful, handsome doctor by your side there. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are
How
you?
you do that?
I am well. I am. Thanks. I've been well and very stable as well.
Since you're well, I'm well too. Yes. What I call you to tell you about? Well, so I now have the pressure that is a little bit not too high, and I am allergic to what are they coming with the question? Look at the fuck it is now.
You want to find out if you can get vaccinated if your pressure is high, because you asked us that yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, so the doctor is here
Yes.
to answer
Right.
you today.
Yes, unfortunately for her, the studies have shown that persons with chronic diseases can be vaccinated. As a matter of fact, they should be vaccinated because you are at increased risk because of your chronic underlying condition.
Yes. And then the thing is, I took an injection when I had 14 years. And I saw a nurse last week before. Got the nurse come and take my pressure from me, and I saw her. She said, well, Miss Jacob, because our doctor, Dr. Radix, old Radix, he died now. And he said, well, Miss Jacob, you have this in your body till you have 100 years. And all the type of thing that pass. You know, Doc, I never experienced it. The what they have, what are they raining there? I didn't get it. So I want that injection. An injection is good to take. It is very good to take because I take injection when I had 14 years, and right now I am 73 years of age.
All right.
I born in 1947.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Jacob. And when are you going to get vaccinated?
I'm going next week.
All right.
Nice, cute baby girl. The lady that is Miss Felix, the office up there, she says she don't leaving me behind.
Oh, okay, so she's
And
taking you.
my mommy tell me, yes, it's so take it because she going in 98 years this year. You know who is my mommy?
Yes, the Prime Minister's mother. Yes.
She tell me, Miss Jacob, you is my daughter, you have to take your injection. So I will be taking mine next week. If God spare my life.
Amen. All
So
right.
my dear doc, I pray for the doctors, everything, because I have a hospital prayer book. I pray for them this morning. I pray for all you this morning, all those who they on the front line. Okay, Doc?
Thank
So
you.
you
Thank
and
you.
my handsome sister, you all have a beautiful and a God bless day.
You too, Miss
Thank you.
Jacob. All right, thank you so much. And that was one of the questions that I was going to ask as well. Given that there may be, in some cases, side effects, would you advise for people with underlying conditions? But we'll answer it after because we do have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hi, morning.
Good morning.
I'm not sure if this, I'm assuming that my question is relevant to the conversation. As it relates to herd immunization, how does that work, please? Because I don't understand how, if you have the vaccine or you have the antibodies against the COVID, how is it positive for me? Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Oh, that's a very nice question. Herd immunity is a public health term that is used. And herd immunity is used to say that if enough of your population is vaccinated, they will not get sick. And so if, God forbid, the virus starts circulating in your country again, it will never be a pandemic. It will never be widespread. It will never, knock down 80% of the people because there will not be enough people around to successfully transfer the virus from one person to the next.
Oh.
So it means that those who did not get vaccinated in herd immunity, those who did not get vaccinated, they will get the virus, but they will not pass it on to anybody else because most of the other people are vaccinated.
Or would we say pass it on, or those that they pass it on to wouldn't get sick enough?
All right, you can say that too.
Because it still exists.
It's still existing, right?
Okay.
So it will never come a situation where your health system get overwhelmed,
Right.
because herd immunity is there.
Right. Because I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and I said to them, listen to me. We can get we can develop the antibodies for the virus in 2 ways, and it's very simple. You can get vaccinated and develop the virus,
Or get the virus.
and get the antibodies, or you can get the virus,
yes,
and get the antibodies. The only difference is I don't want to play Russian roulette with my life. I don't want to say I am going to wait. I will get the virus anyway, but I am strong and healthy, so most likely I'll either be asymptomatic or live. I do not know that.
That's a risk you don't want to take.
You do not want to take.
Yeah.
And it has, of course, been proven. We've seen it. We've seen it among the many people who have already taken the vaccine here in Grenada. Nobody turned into anything strange. Nobody got any serious allergy. Nobody got any a serious side effect that they had to be hospitalized as a result of, or anything like that. So these people are testament to that. We have a caller, but I have a very important question that I do need to ask, but we'll take the call first. Good morning, Mr. Mills.
Well, how you know it's me?
Mr. Mills.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, sir.
Mr. Mills, anytime you pick up your phone and you start dialing the number, I get a tingling feeling in my fingers, so I know you're calling.
One question. I have to drop my pants to get injection.
Mr. Mills, I was very concerned about that too, you know.
I want people. Okay, well, I just want to know.
It's on your shoulders, don't worry.
On your shoulders, so
Yes.
I never drop my pants.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, well, that's good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mr. Mills. How has the vaccination drive been going in Carriacou? Mr. Mills is from Carriacou, so I wanted to make sure that he's listening. How has the vaccination drive been going there?
We had a very good response. The first the days that we went, we expect the response to continue. In fact, the vaccinators who went up had to the Osprey had to actually wait for them. Because they had so many people that they need to get vaccinated. But we are still very much under our numbers. We don't want to let people become complacent. We still need to get the numbers up and have as many people vaccinated as possible. But the early signs are very encouraging.
All right, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing this morning?
We're good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I just have about 3 or 4 questions for the doctor. If you can answer to, probably you can, right?
Go ahead.
For the doctor, would you think about testing for COVID-19, right? Those who have already been vaccinated, that's the first one. And are persons who have had COVID, are they being vaccinated, or are pre-being asked to present something to show if they have had COVID-19 before being vaccinated again? And what are the side effects of those persons in case they had COVID and they are now vaccinated? Would that make a difference in some of the side effects? Thank you. I hope I was clear with the questions.
Yes, thank you.
I'll listen on it.
Okay.
So those who were, I think the first one was those who were vaccinated, would you test them for COVID? And the answer is yes, you can still test someone for COVID even if they're vaccinated. And again, a lot of those answers will be given as the research comes out, because if it turns out that the vaccine makes the virus very short-lived in your body, then it means that doing a test, you might actually test negative.
Right.
And the other thing, it depends on what test is being done. The PCR test actually determines the virus, the genetic material of the virus itself. So depending on how long you got the virus, if you do a PCR test, it might be negative. Whereas the antibody test looks at how if you have antibodies in you for the COVID. Because of the vaccine, you probably should have antibodies in you. So the rapid antibody test might come out positive, whereas the PCR might come out negative because you don't have the virus inside of you.
I want to ask that question in a different way, because I know it can be interpreted 2 ways, and I just want to be sure that we don't miss anything.
Yeah.
Now, as you said, the antibody test, if you do the antibody testing, which I hope you'll explain the difference between the antibody and the PCR test for the persons listening. When you do the antibody test, it will come out positive because the vaccine actually allows you to have an autoimmune response to create antibodies for this thing that they think the body thinks you have.
Right.
Whereas in other vaccines, we use actual strains of the virus to create the vaccine. So if you test for the actual virus, you may have it, or you may test positive for it.
Right.
But in this case, if you do a PCR test, which will determine if you have the virus or not, after taking the vaccine, it should be negative because there was no virus used to create
Absolutely, yes.
I want to make sure.
Yeah, it should be negative. It's similar to the TB. I got the PCR vaccine. So if you test me for tuberculosis today, it's going to show positive.
Right, because you've had
the actual virus itself.
Virus. But in this case, with the COVID-19, there is no live virus used. So the PCR test would come out negative.
Right.
But the antibody test, which tests for the antibodies created, would come out may come out positive. Okay, I just want to make sure because I know that can be interpreted in two different ways.
And I hope that will help you answer the questions that caller ask about as well.
Yes, it should. We have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yes, I'd like to speak to the doctor, ask a question.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the doctor, can when it gets set with a virus, can you intercourse, can it pass through the from the medicine pass through the intercourse?
The virus or the antibodies?
Yeah.
Do you want to know if the antibodies pass through intercourse or if the virus passes through intercourse, or both?
Well, we know the virus passed through intercourse. We're in the antibodies.
Okay.
The antibodies.
Okay, thank you for the question.
So far, we are not aware of any antibodies that is transmitted through intercourse. The semen is quite a hostile environment. The semen is made just so that sperm can float and swim through. An antibody, if you put an antibody inside of there, it might really cause some problems. So, but just to cut it short, the biology of humans doesn't support the idea of immunity through sexual activity, and so we do not believe that the antibodies, either through vaccination or infection, is transmitted through sexual intercourse.
Okay, because that was a question. Funny enough, it's an actual question that people have been asking. If I get vaccinated and I go home and have intercourse with my husband or wife, would they get the antibodies as well? So it is an actual question that people have been asking. The caller asked something, and I'm trying to remember the question. The caller before. That he wanted answered, and the question just slipped me. So, caller, if you didn't get all of your questions answered, just give us a call back, and we'll try to answer them for you. So, the underlying conditions: an individual who has underlying conditions would be more encouraged to go and get vaccinated because they stand a greater risk of getting severely ill if they get COVID.
Correct.
So we advise that they do that. Guys, remember the lines are open. The number to call is 440-7377. If you are calling locally, if you're in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yes, again. I want to ask, right, if, the last two questions you were asking for, like if I had COVID before, if I tested positive for COVID before, is that one of the questions that would be posed to me when I go to be vaccinated, or would the authorities just say, if you have had COVID before, please let the doctors or the nurses know before you're vaccinated? And then the last one I had was, if you have had COVID-19 before, would the side effects be a little greater?
Okay.
Yeah.
You will not be asked if you had COVID before when you go for the vaccine, because from the studies, the studies are inconclusive as to whether or not you get a long-term protection from previous COVID infections. It seems as though the COVID infection gives you a shorter-term protection, the vaccine gives you a longer term protection. So you should still be vaccinated even if you've had COVID before. As far as the side effect profile is concerned, there has been no difference between those who had COVID and those who did not have COVID. The side effect profile has been the same in those two categories of people.
Okay. We had a call on the line and they left. We'll get them back eventually. So basically what we're saying is that we've already vaccinated persons who have been infected by COVID.
Correct.
And they have had the same side effects as
Yes,
persons who have never had the Okay. Interesting. Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Doc.
Morning.
I'm just trying to find out, are we doing the community testing while we're doing this vaccination? I mean, continue to test people in the environment and so to ensure there is no spread outside.
That is still on the card. Our surveillance system is still active. And if there is any suspicion of a case or respiratory case that looks like COVID, the tests are still being done. You may not see widespread testing in your area. That's probably because from a surveillance standpoint, there has been no reason for us to do it. If you think that there is a reason to do it, please let the surveillance nurses know, and we're going to do our contact tracing and so on and get the appropriate test done.
All right. We have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Ms. Duncan and
Hi, morning.
Dr. Martin.
Good morning.
Good
Is
morning.
it?
Yes, it is.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Ms. Duncan, I tell you, I don't know, because I don't take no vaccine because I know about it. But I only hear they talking about it. But I don't take none because what really happened with me, I'm not well, my foot swelling, the pressure, the acid with the kidney and the heart. So I don't know if I could take it.
Okay.
I don't know, so I want to find out.
Okay. So you want to listen on air for it, or you want to listen
Yes,
on the
I
radio?
want to hear what Dr. Martin will say.
Okay.
All right. So, ma'am, first of all, a lot of study has been done with vaccines in people with underlying conditions. So even if you have an underlying condition, you can still take the vaccine. However, I am hearing you say here that you have had your foot swelling and you have kidney problems.
Yes.
Do you know what the name of your kidney problem is?
No, if
You
I
don't
tell
know.
you, no.
All right. So I need you to speak with the district medical doctor who should know your medical condition, because
Yeah.
the state of your kidney is important for us to understand what to do.
Right.
So speak with him, and once he looks at your blood test and he's happy with it, he will tell you that taking the vaccine is fine. But most of the studies that was done shows that you can take the vaccine even if you had high blood pressure and heart problems.
Okay. Because pressure, no, my mother died from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So speak to your the district health doctor that's there, the doctor in your health center,
Yeah.
and let him decide if it's best for you at the time based on what your blood work says.
Oh.
All right?
Okay then.
So he will inform you.
All right then. Okay. All the
right.
best.
You too.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
All right. I'm enjoying the calls that are coming in. So come on, guys. If you have your question, this is the right place to call. I'm telling you, we're not taking any medical advice from Uncle Jim, or we're not taking any medical advice from Mr. Joe by the rum shop. We're not taking any medical advice from Facebook or from Instagram. Ask the doctor. He's sitting right here to answer your questions. Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is a doctor and call. It's not doctor and call, but
But thank you. That's a good name for a program, you know.
hard talk.
Yes, it's hard talk.
Yeah, so I had vaccination already, and the nurse advised me, don't drink any alcohol and so on for a little while. How soon does life come back to normal?
You sound like you've been so gravely affected.
Oh, well, I think the nurse is saying no alcohol because alcohol has a dampening effect on the immune system. it interferes with it causes cortisol to be produced, which has a negative effect on the immune system's ability to build antibodies for a particular virus. So she is correct by asking you not to drink. I think I don't want to endorse drinking. You're putting me in a difficult position.
Well, I mean, how long should one remain from then?
I would probably say give yourself at least 48 hours. Maybe best 72 hours, 3 days or so. So you give your immune system a real chance to, and you should be guided by the side effect, because the side effect kind of tells you that the immune system is really working hard at this thing. You guide yourself by that. But I think between 48 to 72 hours, you should be able to have this one beer per day that you're asking me to have.
No, but interesting, Doc, I felt nothing. I had the vaccination, but I felt nothing.
Yeah, some people don't feel anything at all. People make a big set of noise about it, but, a lot of people just don't have anything.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Right, thank you
so
for
you're
your
going to have that one beer, right?
Thanks.
All right. We have a question on WhatsApp, and it reads, "Good morning. How longer would the vaccination process be on at the Radisson?" I don't think we are at Radisson anymore.
We should be there until tomorrow.
Until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know the news item said Tuesday would be the last for Radisson.
Right, yeah. Initially we had said Tuesday, but the need is still there. So thankfully we're there until tomorrow.
Okay, so if there is a need after tomorrow, you'll be there after tomorrow too.
I hope so. I hope there is a need.
All right, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, I would like to know how much cases you have in Grenada right now.
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I always have to answer this question by saying, by the time I finish answering these questions, the case could be different because we're testing right now as we speak. But we have 3 cases. By the end of the day, we would know if we have any more. But those are what we have right now.
Okay, and those 3 cases would be the mother and the 2 minors that came in.
Imported cases.
The imported cases. Okay. I remember the question I had. I had a question. It was on my mind, and then it slipped, but I remember it now. Considering that children are not in the brackets of being vaccinated at this time, would there be a stronger encouragement for teachers to get vaccinated? And this thought ran through my mind yesterday because currently there is still active school happening. And I would hope that we would not wait until we decide to close school at the end of March to say, okay, teachers, go and get vaccinated, but more say that we are going to allot 2 days for teachers to go and get themselves vaccinated. Maybe even put up the same facility that we had available at the Radisson, or even say to them, we will be at your school to vaccinate you. In my mind, I'm hoping that that kind of procedure would become available, because while we are going out there to get vaccinated, our children are being engaged and looked after by the same teachers who would want to get vaccinated.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, in some countries, teachers are considered frontline.
Right.
So really and truly, teachers should have been vaccinated already because by virtue of the work that they do and the exposure that they have.
Right.
So I am again appealing to and hoping for good judgment to take place. Teachers are known to be people who are able to reason well. I mean, all of us are touched by teachers. And so teachers who normally are very reasonable people, I expect them to do the correct things. And it sets a good example for the children as well. That you need to take care of yourself, take care of your body, and protect yourself from diseases.
Okay, but we also have to provide the environment for them to do it.
Of course,
which is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
We're encouraging them to get vaccinated, but really and truly, we have not as yet provided them the opportunity to go and do it.
That's the easy part. If any school or any teacher is seriously interested in vaccination, they just need to reach out to us, and we're going to make it possible.
And you'll make it possible. Okay, so I hope to the teachers listening, to the schools listening, once you and 9 of your colleagues or all of your colleagues want to get vaccinated, then reach out to Ministry of Health.
Yes, they can reach out to any one of us.
There we go. and we'll see. Someone is saying here, good morning, Ms. Duncan and Dr. Martin. Can you please tell if people are being tested before given the vaccination, or if they do have the virus, they may spread it while lining up for the shot?
That person is correct. No one knows everything, and it is possible that someone with the virus may be standing in the midst. But I would say under the current circumstances in Grenada in particular, because of our contact tracing and our surveillance mechanism, it is highly unlikely that a COVID positive person is standing in the line with you. It's highly unlikely. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely because of our contact tracing and our surveillance mechanism that we do have. And we believe that there is no community transmission and community spread. So if there is no community spread and no community transmission, it's highly unlikely that you're going to be having COVID standing in a line.
But also the protocols are being adhered to.
Yes, of course. But part of the other question is where we do not do testing for COVID before you're vaccinated. That's not done.
Okay. We have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Oh, we seem to have lost that caller. They're going to call back. I want to make sure I get all my questions out there because I don't know. You guys have been so busy. You have been so busy. What about individuals that are in the hospitals currently as patients? Are they given opportunities to be vaccinated if they so choose to while there?
I think that's a good thought, but recall people in hospital are in a sick state and they may have different levels of being unwell, and generally you don't want to vaccinate someone whose immune system is already on the strain for other types of or other reasons.
Right.
We would rather vaccinate a healthy or a stable person rather than someone who is sick. So I think the discussion is on, but from my medical knee-jerk reaction, I would say probably you shouldn't until the person is well.
Well, that also brings into light another question. That question being, what if I don't know if I'm sick? There are people out there who have very rare immune conditions that they are not too sure what it is, and we are a people that like to I want to put this in the best possible way. We are people that self-diagnose a lot and self-treat. So we may have a small headache and we decide, okay, I've had this headache for a week and I'm going to take Panadol, I'm going to drink Bush, or I'm going to do, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we tend to, as a people, self-diagnose and self-treat. So what if I don't know that I have this underlying condition? Can taking the vaccine exacerbate an unknown condition?
That is a very real possibility. I mean, you speaking about something that is cultural, so I cannot change that.
Yeah.
And if that happens, it's going to be an unfortunate situation if that happens. Because as you rightly indicate, someone may have some very serious underlying condition that may that the vaccine or the immune system, the immune response that is being evoked because of the virus, that immune system can bring up or flare up something else. Like I say, that would be very unfortunate, but given our culture and how we behave, it is possible that something like that can happen. Fortunately though, I think even if something like that happens, we have the capacity to be able to keep that person stable enough to be able to come to that diagnosis and have something happen and help them to get well, because I'm supposing that it might be something autoimmune, which is not so difficult to treat in our health system.
Okay. Yeah. All right. For individuals who have autoimmune conditions, and I'll speak of those that I know about. Let's say, take for example, chronic
urticaria.
Right. That. Which is basically the immune system attacking different cells in the body and so on, creating an overreactive immune response. Now, someone with a condition like that, of course, would be on immune suppressant drugs and so on. They would want to take the vaccine, which means that they would need to come off those immune suppressants to take the vaccine. But still, if your immune system is already so overreactive, would it be advisable for an individual like that to go ahead and take a vaccine?
You and your physician can work this out, because it is still possible for it to happen. Because recall, one of the major targets of a vaccination is to create memory. Believe it or not, there are some immune system cells in our body that are actually called memory cells. They remember stuff.
Right.
And those are the cells you want to remember the vaccine so that in future, or remember the protein spikes so that in future the vaccine, if the virus gets attacked by the virus, you can have that thing done. So it is still possible for it to get done. You just have to work very closely with your physician. That physician is going to do their CBCs or complete blood count as necessary and determine the best window period for you to take that vaccine.
Okay.
But from the initial studies that was done, they have looked at that as well and said that it is, again, weighing the benefit against the risk, and you and your physician comes up with an idea.
Okay. That's fair enough. We're winding down, and I'm going to leave some room open for anyone else wanting to make a contribution. Remember, the number to call is 440-7377 if you're calling locally. If you are in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. A comment on the live video says, "Thank you, Doc. That is what I wanted to hear." Another one is saying, "Grenada, I am really proud of you. Your citizens are blessed to have great governance. Blessings." We have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yes, yeah, but again, I will come back. I come back with me. I had cholesterol in 2018. My cholesterol gone up to 600. And so I asking the doctor if the injection go thing with it, and then my tablet for the pressure is the 500 gram of Aldomet. Ask it, please.
Okay. All right.
And the answer is yes. The Aldomet that you're taking, the pressure and the cholesterol problems, you could take the vaccine. As a matter of fact, if you have cholesterol problems, you should be at the front of the line to get the vaccine, because the cholesterol interferes with the blood vessels, interfere with the bloodstream, and we know one aspect of COVID disease is interference with the blood system and the bloodstream. Right. So you really should take that vaccine.
Okay. We have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. All right, caller, I know that you're there, but you're listening to us on the radio, and there is a delay. So we're already online with you. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. Can you lower the volume of the device you're listening on, please?
Hello. Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Is this a radio station?
It is. Can you lower the volume of the device you're listening on, please?
Angela?
Can you lower your radio volume, please?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right, you're live on Hard Talk.
Yeah. One thing I would like to ask with the vaccine, does it have a long-term? Would it have a long-term effect on you? Like maybe next year, 2 years to come, will it have an effect on you?
Okay.
That is one.
Go ahead, ask them all.
You have something like asthma, this kind of thing. Should they take the vaccine? Yeah?
Okay.
That's my two questions.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. So the first one is a long-term effect. Remember, as I said, this vaccine is an old vaccine. It is just a new virus. So from the years and years and decades of using this type of vaccine, we have no evidence of significant long-term effect using that type of vaccine. So outside of me being God and I don't know the future, I can say to you very safely that this vaccine has no significant long-term effect. Regarding asthma, there is no problem with giving an asthmatic that vaccine. And again, as I say, because you're asthmatic, you probably should be at the front of the line to get the vaccine, because the virus do have a very strong respiratory component to it. So you really want to protect yourself from that virus by getting the vaccine earlier. I know a lot of people have been talking about this, so I really want to reiterate. The technology that is used for this vaccine is old technology that has proven itself over the hundreds of years that the world has used that virus, that vaccine. It's only a new virus. That's the only problem. And no long-term effects and respiratory problems, you can still take the vaccine.
All right. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
We are sorry.
Oh no, we seem to have lost that caller. There is a question regarding children. Recently, I think it was as recent as last month in Barbados, and then they were speaking about not St. Vincent, Trinidad also having cases of children who got infected by COVID-19, having MIS, multiple inflammatory syndrome. We'll get back to it, but we do have a call on the line, and I want to give enough time for the callers. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, morning.
This is the program I'm listening to?
Yes, and you are live.
Yeah. I have a question. The question is based on the vaccine. What if someone take the vaccine and they had a disease, some kind of infection, some kind of sickness, and they die of the vaccine? What's in place for that? What the government have in place for that? Compensation or something like that?
Okay.
I believe you should be medically checked first before you take the vaccine, because you never know what could happen, just to be safe.
Again, caller, I want you to stay there and listen to me.
What is in place for that? What the government have in place for that? Compensation or something like that?
Yes, caller.
I believe you should be medically checked first before...
Oh, he's listening on the radio. That's what happened. Go ahead.
Caller, I want you to stay there and listen to me very, very carefully. Millions and millions and millions and millions of people around the world have used this vaccine. No one died.
Okay.
No one died. We do not expect people to die from this vaccine. If there was ever death associated with this vaccine, that vaccine will not have been given authorization to be used. It is impractical to medically check everyone before you give them a vaccine. I also want you to remember, caller, that same vaccine, that same technology has been used in the region for ages. It's just that it's a new virus.
Okay.
And that's it. So we really believe the safety profile is quite good.
Okay. We have a call on the line.
Remember, caller.
Hello?
That same vaccine.
No, it's a ring back, but he's listening. I believe he's listening on his phone as well. Could you give us an example, and I'll go back to my earlier question after this one. Could you give us an example of any of the vaccines, apart from the influenza vaccine that we've taken, that we use the same technology with?
The world has seen vaccines like these. I think the MMR, measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, polio vaccine, tetanus vaccine, hepatitis. I don't recall the exact mechanism that was used in some of those, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the influenza is similar to the technology that we use, and we use influenza almost every year.
Okay, we have another caller. Hello. Seems to have lost it. All right. So back to my earlier question concerning MIS. So we generally believe, it's generally the belief of a lot of people, that when children develop the virus, unless they have some underlying condition, they would either be asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic when they get COVID. Now, as recent as last month in Barbados, an 8-year-old girl died of MIS, which was caused as a result of COVID-19. What do we have in place as a government, as a people, for dealing with these kind of situations? Because we have also seen in the US where children have developed things like kwashiorkor as a result of getting COVID-19. What mechanisms do we have in place for identifying and dealing with these situations before it causes death?
Well, fortunately for us, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The mechanism and the system that we have in place for dealing with infectious disease is the same whether it's a child or an adult. Okay. The only difference is that you would need a pediatrician to manage a child and, of course, an internal medicine specialist to handle an adult. So It's a matter of us be preempting what may happen and being prepared for it. Our medical system is ready. I'm not saying we're 100%. No one is going to be 100% in this scenario. But we are poised to be able to deal with that sort of thing. We are very fortunate in the world that this virus has, for all intents and purposes, have spared children. Yes, there is going to be the one or two child that would get infected, but by and large, we really don't expect a very serious matter with children. And I suppose, again, children with very serious underlying condition will be more at risk as those who are healthy to be able to manage this disease. But the treatment mechanism is the same.
Okay. All right. I had a question in my head, and I don't know. It just flew away. Guys, we have a couple more minutes remaining. If you have a question, please give us a call. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, caller, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Miss Shaw. Good morning, Dr. Martin.
Good morning.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, morning. When the vaccine will be in health center, I'm ready to take the vaccine. When it will be in the health center at Happy Hill, the other health center Greater Carriacou Diplomatic.
Can you...
When the vaccine will be at health center.
You want to know until what time? We didn't quite hear the question, caller. All right. I think he's asking until what period would the vaccine be available at the health center?
It's continuous until we reach our target.
Until you reach it. And as long as vaccines are
available, yeah.
All right. We have a call on the line. Hello, good morning.
Oh, yes. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And good morning to the doc.
Morning.
Outside of the COVID matter, let me ask this question. I had been asking this question to health experts, yet to get an answer. LPG or liquid petroleum gas, is it cancerous? I had been making certain observations, but before I say anything further, I will want to know, is it cancerous?
I have no scientific evidence or research evidence to prove that LPG is cancerous. But what is certain is that if someone gets exposed and the level of exposure to gasoline can cause inflammatory reaction on the surface of the lung as you inhale, and that inflammation on the surface of the lung, depending on how long it is there and the extent of it, can lead to other inflammatory processes within the lungs and so on. But as far as scientific evidence of it causing cancers, I do not have that evidence. And I suspect the caller is asking because you may have anecdotal evidence or you have something. If you do, I'll be willing to hear from you so that I can join with the research and see what can happen.
That's the reason why I am asking this question. I asked the question to about 3 health experts, and I get the same answer. You see, what the observation I've made is serious enough. But before I say anything further, not on the air, I will not say it on the air. I prefer call your office and relate what the observation I've made. But you
can actually call my number. My number is 405-0311. You can call me and we can talk about it.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you for your question. There is a question on the WhatsApp that reads, I'd like to see a public service ad telling people to still follow the safety protocols because who... Okay. I'm trying to paraphrase this because I'm not quite sure what the author is trying to say. Because who goes into a jungle infested with Aedes aegypti mosquito, even if you are vaccinated from all its diseases? You should, or would you drive like a lunatic even if you are wearing seatbelts? I think the important question here is, do we, after receiving our vaccination, do we continue to follow protocols as normal, and why?
Yes, the caller is exactly correct. You still need to follow the protocols because up to this point, the only conclusive evidence we have is that the vaccine only prevents you from becoming sick and dying.
Right.
It doesn't prevent you from spreading it to someone else. You can still have it on your hands. You can still have the virus in your nostrils. You can still sneeze it onto someone.
Right.
It could still be in your droplets. So follow the rules until the scientific evidence tells us otherwise.
Okay. Now, I've been explaining to people, I think, very, as best as I possibly can, in terms of vaccination, because personally, I would like to see all my family and friends vaccinated. This is my personal goal because I understand why we are getting vaccinated. But for the people out there who are still querying, and I think I want to explain it as best as I can, and you'll correct me if I miss anything. When I get vaccinated, it's to protect me so that I don't get any underlying severe conditions, diseases from COVID-19.
Right.
However, it does not stop me from getting COVID and giving it to you.
Correct.
Which means that it is still very possible for me as a level-headed individual to think along the lines of getting vaccinated and have a husband and children not being able to be vaccinated, and a husband who refuses to get vaccinated, who can still get COVID and die from me.
Yes.
I have to survive for that kind of grief.
Well, hopefully when the research comes that shows that your body kills the virus much quicker if you're vaccinated, so that you're not spreading enough of the virus to infect another person.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
Because you could spread, there is something called the infectious dose of a virus to become infected. In other words, if the infectious dose of COVID is 10 virants and you spread 3, the person won't get sick. So that's what the research is looking at. If because you're vaccinated, your body starts to kill the virus as soon as it enters your nostrils, then that means you won't have enough of the virus to spread to someone else to successfully infect that person.
Now that explains so much, because then it would explain why a mother taking care of sick children would not get the cold from them.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that definitely does explain a lot. It definitely does explain a lot. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
What about the person who suffer with seizure?
Say that again?
What about the person who suffer with seizure?
Seizures?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to know if they can get vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the answer is yes. If you're suffering from seizures, and there are different types of seizures, but based on how the virus performs, based on how the mechanism of the vaccine works, it is safe for someone who has seizures or who is suffering from seizures to become vaccinated.
Okay. So basically, the vaccine is safe, people. It's safe. And of course, we are, as in anything, going to have the anti-vaxxers. And we need to separate an anti-vaxxer from a person who has a problem with myths. Because anti-vaxxers do not vaccinate whatsoever, regardless of what vaccine it is. They do not vaccinate. And I don't think we have any anti-vaxxers in Grenada that are native to Grenada. We may have that have come in and so on and don't want to vaccinate, but I don't think we have anyone native to Grenada that's an anti-vaxxer, because we've all been vaccinated as children. We take our children to the health center and we just know that after 3 months they're supposed to go and get vaccinated. That's all we know as parents. We don't know what vaccine they're getting. We don't know where the vaccine is made. We don't know what process is used to make the vaccine. We don't know any of that. We just know that we're supposed to stock up on our Panadol for children, bring our children to get vaccinated, and expect a little fever and pain. That is what we know. I think this is the first time, apart from school, that I've really heard broken down in this form what a vaccine really does and the different processes for making a vaccination. I think as a people, we should be appreciative of the fact that we are getting more information out of this than we would have ever thought if the circumstances for it were different. Now, I did listen to an interview with a doctor from the St. George University who explained to us that, well, we didn't start from zero, meaning that the technology was there, was already being worked on, because we already had diseases like SARS and MERS for a foundation that we can go by to build the COVID-19 vaccination. And of course, you have also explained to us that it's old technology that we are using. similar to that of the influenza vaccine that has been around for, decades. So I think I'm comfortable enough in the fact that I understand, and I'm hoping that our viewers, our listeners, and our callers understand same. Do you have any closing remarks, because we're running out of time, but do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to make to the general public?
My closing remarks is that we should not ever take health for granted. We should still follow the rules. In this day and age, we have so much information, so much technology, but at the same time, there is so much false information out there. From the beginning of this COVID response, we've battled with the science. We've also battled with misinformation. Even up to today, we're still battling most with misinformation. I may dare say that most of what is being read on social media, and those are my numbers, between 80 and 90% of what you see on social media is false. It is wrong. It is misleading. It is people deliberately trying to do things to derail the work of others. I encourage people to continue to eat well, sleep well, drink lots of fluid, eat lots of highly colored foods because that's what will build your immune system. Be sensible about things. Get the vaccine so you can prevent yourselves and your loved one from being sick so that we can get our countries open again and we can get back to normal as quickly as we can. So those are my final parting words for the nation.
All right, and wonderful parting words they are. Guys, we have come to the end of our program for today. I hope that you were edified today on the vaccine, that you would make a conscious decision based on your current health situation, and of course taking into consideration what being vaccinated would do for the people who surround you. We clamor and we talk a lot about wanting to open our country, wanting to get back to normal. We have been handed on a silver platter a way in which we can do that at a quicker pace. Let us not let myths and conspiracy theories guide our judgments, but let us be guided by facts and information from credible sources. Guys, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. In whatever you do and whatever you say, be safe and be secure. We always want to be talking with you. We do not ever want to be talking about you. Please do enjoy the remainder of your day and stay tuned for the National Report. It's been wonderful, guys.
Are you gonna wear your mask today? You see everywhere you go. There are rules you got to follow, so don't you say COVID-19 will delay. Take the opportunity to save your community. Don't be that guy, put a mask on your face if you're heading outside. It's your life, my life, more lives if we don't try. If you feel any symptoms, call the hotline. Stay inside until you feel fine. 6 feet away every day. Keep COVID-19 far from away. Keep Grenada safe.
Government committed to balancing development with environmental concerns, but says arbitrary protests can derail development. Details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back. With the details to the news for Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021, I am Sherry Noel. The government of Grenada has reiterated its commitment to ensuring that environmental considerations are part of the country's development agenda. Government's commitment is outlined in the country's National Sustainable Development Plan, which will guide the development process for the next 15 years. Additionally, all development projects are required to undertake environmental impact assessments, EIA, prior to the actual start of work. Grenada's Prime Minister, Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell, is of the view that arbitrary protests can derail the development process and negatively impact job creation. During his contribution to Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives, Dr. Mitchell said armchair environmentalists always emerge once the NNP starts a project and then disappear when it comes to fruition. Both the Prime Minister and the Minister of International Business, Honorable Oliver Joseph, made reference to the Port Louis Marina project, which transformed the lagoon and surrounding areas, the cruise ship terminal, and most recently, the 2 hotels being developed by Range Developments in St. David, as projects which have prompted demonstrations by opposition forces.
For all my years, Mr. Speaker, in this Parliament, every time the NNP government starts any project to bring development to the country, hundreds of jobs, economic activity, a certain political organization who was opposed to the NNP have always come out with demonstration against the project and using also fictitious reasons, environmental concerns. Every time there's a project, some armchair environmentalists emerge. And when the project is implemented, they disappear. And the next time, another set of armchair environmentalists emerge again. See, look like we create environmentalists in this country in different sections for different times, which is sad. In this period, no serious investor would want to come and invest his money in any serious project in any country in this time with the sensitivity of environmental issues now, and do anything that will cause environmental concerns and affect the environment. Mr. Speaker, the only reason I'm raising this today, because the investor came forward to say to me, because of the noises being made by those persons in the St. David's area on this major project, one of the hotel chains that were involved said they don't want any part of that anymore. So they had to move to get another hotel chain involved. It doesn't stop the project, but it stopped the question of the entity that would be managing the activity. In other words, the purpose of these demonstrations is meant to stop the project, to prevent Grenadians from eating a bread, Mr. Speaker. That's the point I want to make. It is selfish, backward, and stupid, in my view, politically stupid, because you must not be seen as hurting people.
Minister for International Business, Honorable Oliver Joseph, also noted that every major project undertaken by the government has come up against people who claim to be environmentalists.
When you march against such project, whether you want to put it under the cover of environment, it's sending the wrong message to investors that Grenada is a hostile place to come. Government not building no hotel, you know, Mr. Speaker. All one of them saying that all government doing is building hotel. Government don't build hotel. We create the right environment for people to come to Grenada. That is what we are doing. And we want to attract these hotels. So my colleagues said they wish they could attract these hotels to come to their country. But Grenada is attracting them because of the stability of the country, because the peaceful nature and the friendly people. We are attracting hotels to come. We are not in the business of building hotels. So when they come, we welcome them. And it's in St. David's. No major hotel has ever been built in St. David's. So it's glaring now that all you're doing, there is opposing development work. There's a balance between development and the environment. That all over the world. There's a topic that's been treated and discussed every day. The balance between protecting the environment and development. Is that not new? There's an authority in Grenada that you must submit your plans to. They request an environmental impact assessment, and all these things were done before the project could commence. So everything legally that the developers were supposed to do, that was done.
Providing an update on the project's job creation, Minister Joseph said construction just started in January and to date 52 people are already employed. By September, 100 more will be added, so you would have 152 people engaged on the site. When the hotels become operational, 300 people will be employed. The project developers have indicated their willingness to meet with any group to discuss any environmental concerns. Moving along, the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, has formulated a strategy for CAPE and CSEC exams that it says will, quote, ensure that administration of the regional examinations will not disenfranchise the region's students in light of the ongoing disruptions of the education system caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, unquote. Following meetings with the Council for Human and Social Development, or COSOD, Education, it has agreed that CXC will administer the CAPE, CSEC, and CCSL examinations in their original format. This means for CAPE and CSEC Papers 1, 2, and 3 school-based assessments, or Papers 032 for private candidates, and for CCSLC Papers 1 and 2, CSEC and CAPE written examinations commence on 14 June and end on 16 July 2021. Results will be made available to the Ministries of Education in the last week of September 2021. In addition, an extension will be given to the deadline by which students can decide to defer the sitting of the 2021 examinations. Candidates will be required to indicate their intention for deferral by 1st May 2021. And taking into consideration the loss of learning many students experience, CXC will share with Ministries of Education for communication to candidates the broad topics to be assessed on Paper 2, 5 weeks in advance of the start of examinations. Minister for Education, Honorable Emmeline Pear, spoke to the issue during a meeting of the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
The decision is that the examinations will be done this year. However, students would have an opportunity if they wish to defer. So a student or a parent decide that they're not ready for 2021, there is the option to every student, every parent on behalf of their student, their child, to defer to 2022, meaning that you can do the same examination in 2022, and CXC is saying there will be no cost to do it in 2022.
COSOD Education has also approved May 27 to 28 for the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, or CPEA, examinations, and 19 to 22nd July 2021 for CCLSC examinations. The online training and assessment quality audits for the Caribbean Vocational Qualifications, CVQ, will be conducted during the period May to August 2021, with dates determined by individual participating territories. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Hey, are you gonna wear your mask today? You see everywhere you go, there are rules you got to follow, so don't you say COVID-19 will delay. Take the opportunity to save your community. Don't be that guy, put a mask on your face if you're heading outside. It's your life, my life, more lives will be taken if we don't try. If you feel any symptoms, call the hotline. Stay inside until you feel fine. 6 feet away every day. Keep COVID-19 far from work. Keep Grenada safe. Be COVID-19 smart.
Welcome back. Work is 95% complete on the refooting and expansion of the Paraclete Bridge in St. Andrew at a cost of $114,000. The project falls under the Ministry of Infrastructure Special Projects and was contracted to Lennox Thomas.
This bridge from time memorial is there, and over the years it deteriorated because virtually the same water that come from here, it actually streamed down to the same area there. If you notice, it met with another water and streamed down to that area here. So therefore, there was a lot of erosion on the bridge. So after the engineer inspected the bridge, we realized that we have to do what we call a refooting. So we undertake that project in terms of the Paraclete Bridge refooting. You know, that one again costs in the sum of $114,000, because we had to do some heavy excavating to get out all the stone that will do what you call a base on both ends, and then we do all the stem walls, if you notice, at the angle that will actually prevent the erosions on the four sides.
In addition to refooting the bridge, additional work has been done to include a pedestrian walkway.
When the engineer come, based on his judgment, he thought, well, actually, we should do another 5 feet that will actually, 2 vehicles can actually traverse there on a smooth path. You know, so prior to the refooting, we also do a 5 feet extension. As you can notice also, we also have a pedestrian walk there that will actually be safe for the pedestrians who use the bridge. So whenever the motoring public whenever the vehicles are traversing that area, the people can be safe by using the pedestrian walk.
While plans to rehabilitate the bridge were in the pipeline, it was decisive action by Honorable Kate Lewis, MP for the area, that got the project moving.
It was in the pipeline a very long time, but kudos to the parliamentary rep, the Honorable Kate Lewis, who tried her best, I know, through trying times, as we know, the economic situation. And we can safely say that the people of Carriacou were clamoring for that 2 bridges here. The dream has been become a reality. Kudos to her and the government, of course, for the initiative in terms of executing the project.
The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, Religious Affairs and Information is appealing to individuals and organizations to follow due process regarding the distribution of food items to schools. The appeals come in light of the recent distribution of expired food items to some schools by an individual who is affiliated with a local organization. The ministry says while it is grateful for the support extended to schools by way of donations or otherwise, it is encouraging the continued tangible and intangible assistance from all stakeholders, bearing in mind that the health and safety of students remain paramount. During a meeting of the House of Representatives on Tuesday, Minister for Education Honorable Emmeline Pear said this incident should not have occurred after they publicly addressed the issue of donations to schools last year. She added that while it may be done in good faith, this is a process that must be followed to avoid any negative consequences.
At the end of the day, this government, no political party, this government will be held accountable for any student who becomes sick, is hospitalized, or endures some medical condition as a result of our irresponsibility. I am surprised, Mr. Speaker, that after this matter was dealt with last year, that we have to be having this conversation today. Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to name schools here, but we have to be mindful that when we're speaking about things to eat, feeding children, a parent at home send a child to school, expects that this child would be protected. And so under no circumstances, under no condition, can it be right? I don't know where you prepared the food. I don't know where you got the ice cream. I don't know where you got the ice lollies. To give those to a child without sufficient background information, Mr. Speaker, I can only consider it to be reckless and irresponsible.
With that story, we come to the end of the National Report for Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sharia Noel, thanking you for viewing.